Welcome to Mortgage on My Mind, where we take the mystery out of mortgages and make dreams of home ownership a reality. I'm Natalie Salins, a top 1% mortgage broker with 20 years of experience, based right here in sunny Los Angeles. If you've ever wondered about pre-approvals, appraisals, or what loan product is right for you, don't worry, I've got Mortgage on My Mind, so you don't have to. Each week, I'll bring you expert advice, real-life stories, and insider tips to help you navigate California's competitive real estate market with confidence. Whether you're buying your first home, refinancing, or just curious about how it all works, this podcast is for you. So let's talk mortgages, demystify the process, and make your real estate goals a reality. Ready to get started? Let's dive in. Hey everybody, welcome to Mortgage on My Mind. I'm Natalie Salins, your host, and today we have with us Ginni Field. She is a real estate coach, trainer, broker, associate. She's the founder of Ginni Field Coaching and Consulting. She has decades, I'm thinking 4, of experience in the industry. And she specializes in business development and leadership training and helping real estate professionals grow successful businesses. Yep. Ginny is a past president of the North San Diego County Association of Realtors, which is so cool, and the recipient of the SRES Outstanding Service Award for her contributions to serving the senior community.
My favorite award of them all.
Oh, I bet. Just to start off the conversation, since you have this incredible history and experience in the real estate community, really, let's talk like what drew you to the industry and how did that path evolve you into running a company, succeeding very well in the company, and then, into your coaching and leadership development?
What a great question, because it's a funny story. I have to go truly back in history, years and years, like 1,000 years ago. My mom worked for a company called Levitt & Sons. Bill Levitt was the post-war housing developer guy back in the day. And my mother worked in the mortgage department of that company. And I remember being in school, and this is on the East Coast because I'm originally from New York, grew up in the South Central Jersey, New York area, that whole swath of geography. And I remember in classes when people were talking about investments, and I can remember as a kid, I was probably 16 years old, saying out loud to friends, I don't really care about stock market. I only care about dirt because you can't make any more. And that was decades and decades ago. And that's truly how my heart for real estate began. I was very grateful, a little historical, just so you can get a foundation for where my career came from. But I remember as a kid, I was very lucky in that the school I attended gave me the ability to choose the mathematics direction I was going to take in high school. In my junior year in high school, I was able to choose the business mathematics segment. Now, I knew I wasn't going to be a scientist. And so I went into business math. So I started learning all of the processes of running companies when I was in high school. It's a true story. Take that combined with my mom being in the builder mortgage department. And those two pieces together made me understand that one day this is what I wanted to do. So when I'm originally from New York and when I moved to Connecticut, I knew it was the opportunity I had to go into real estate. And I did that in 1986. And this is a funny story. I bought my first home in 1986, November, but I'd only lived in that town since November of the prior year. So I'd been there less than a year, knew no one, but still succeeded. And here's why. The most important thing we have to remember for success in real estate is treat your business like a business. And so that's what I did. When I first started in real estate, I just treated my business like a business. I got up, suited up, and went to work every day.
Right.
I was the person, because that's blizzard land, if you get my drift, literally. And I was the only one going to the office when there were blizzards. And I sold houses because I was the only one in the office when somebody called in and was interested in a property. And I sold houses that way. But I always, that's my big thing right now, honestly. is that I've always treated my business like a business. I am the
Right.
CEO of Me Incorporated.
Right.
And I frankly
You
am
only get out of it what you actually put into it.
correct.
We say that all the
Exactly.
time. You're not going to create this huge business if you go to it an hour or 2 hours a day. If you like sit down and
Exactly.
only work an hour or two a day, how
Brilliant.
much can you actually get out of it?
Brilliant.
Just
Exactly.
put in more time. Do whatever
Mhm.
you need to do, even if it's not necessarily the most productive things. Do what you need to do to
Mhm.
build the business that you want.
That's exactly right. And one of the things, because I do a lot of coaching now, I'm doing a lot of consulting at this stage of my career, which one would believe would make natural sense. But one of the things that, and I love what you just said, you are so correct. Get up, suit up, go to work, but it can't be an hour and a half. And one of the things I talk about a lot is that money needs a job. So if I get up, suit up, and go to work every day, why? What's my driver? What am I doing this for? What do I get when I work hard and succeed at the end of the year, at the end of the day, at the end of the month, whatever it is? And that was always for me in my early career, the driver behind what did I do and why did I do it? Because I always had a job for the money. And I still talk about that today as a coaching
Mhm.
consultant because I still talk about money needs a job. What are you doing this for? And you can't roll. I love what you just said. You can't do, would you, corporate America, could you go into work in corporate America and work 2 hours and get paid a full on salary?
Of course.
Same
Yeah.
thing.
Money isn't free.
No,
That's
no,
why I
no,
like,
no.
that you say, put your money to work, give your money a job. It's the
Yes.
same thing. Like money isn't free. And yes, real estate is something where you do make your own hours, of course. So you
Mhm.
think that you can be lax on it, but you can't because it is not simple. It is not easy. And those that are very busy and have created a true company and job out of their
Mhm.
business are extremely busy. They cannot do it all. It's a tough thing to do. It's not, oh, I'm going to get it in and I'm going to start selling houses. I'm going to make money. It's really
Oh,
not.
I love again what I love what you say. So that's the thing. I actually write magazine articles, and I remember I was doing research on an article last year, and we were still in a high-end seller's market. And this agent said, "Oh, real estate is easy. You just put a listing in the MLS and you have a buyer in 2 days and you close." But now, when market times have shifted and it's no longer totally a seller's market and there's a balanced market, is that true? I don't know of any place across the country where market times haven't extended. I can share with you, Natalie, and don't fall off your chair for this. Back in the days when I was in Connecticut, there were moments in time when an average market time to sell a property was 120 days.
Yeah. Also on the East Coast takes a lot longer and is very different than California real estate. I'm also from New York and I have
Oh,
a
I
place.
love that about, no wonder I like you.
I was like, oh, we have very similar background. I'm from New York as well. I have a place back there. And that escrow timeline was like 90 to 120
Mhm.
days. So long. And when I came out here and everybody wants to write 20-day offers, sometimes 15-day offers,
Oh, especially for you doing what you do. Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
like, what is the rush? Like, why is everybody wanting to close so quickly? Don't you have to pack? I'm always like, I don't understand. But it's like the
Don't you have to
faster,
pack?
don't the sellers have to pack their things? Like, why do they want to close in 14 days? Anyway, yeah, it's a very fast pace here.
Yeah, I
Uh,
agree. I
when I
agree.
get a 30-day escrow, I'm like, what are we going to do with all that time? We're gonna literally sit for 2 weeks and just
I
wait.
love that. I love that.
True.
So well said. And so I'm going to say this. That's another piece that real estate agents have to understand because I will share with you because still I sell houses. I'm doing all these other things, but I still sell houses. I've got 3 listings coming. I've got one. It doesn't matter. But there's never been a time, Natalie, where I am about to write an offer and I'm not going to call you and say, Natalie, how much time do you need?
Timelines. Yeah.
How much time do you need?
Everyone, even all of my agents that I've worked with for years and years. And like, we know it all every time. And I'm happy you do because every file is different. And every
Absolutely.
file needs a little bit more, they're
Yeah.
quirky. So
Yeah.
sometimes you're going to call and I'm going to be like, you know what? Like, I have one right now that they want to close early. And I'm like, there are 4 borrowers.
Oh my goodness. Oh my
And when there are
goodness.
4 borrowers, it's 4 times the amount of documents, disclosures that need to be signed. We'll try to close early, you guys, but it's always going to be tougher because now I have 4 times the amount of work. You guys have 4 times the amount of work. It's just like that's a tough one, but each file is different, right? So what are contingencies for that file if it's a bank statement only loan? Now I need a couple extra days on that loan approval. Or if it's this loan, or I need a HELOC to come through to get the funds to close. Every file is different and does require a different type of underwrite and a different type of contingency timelines.
But don't you agree that, and this is just me being empathetic, if you will, real estate professionals need to have the relationship with our lenders in order to make sure we have a communication line so that when we are writing an offer, we're not desperately trying to fix a problem at the end of the day because we didn't get confirmation in advance.
100%. I'm huge with communication. It's like my thing. I like immediately if a borrower is, hey, I'm with this agent, I'm switching agents, blah, blah, blah. I'm immediately like, please put me in touch with them.
Yeah.
Oh, we don't have to yet. We'll just send the pre-approval that you gave us. No, I would like to chat so that he understands how I work. My process is a little different than some lenders, and they need to understand we don't need docs back to fund. We table fund like East Coast. He needs to understand that we go straight to underwriting. We skip the processing up front. So there's a lot that comes into play with our timelines and writing an aggressive offer that you really can on our side.
Yeah.
It's
It's
important to talk.
Absolutely. And that becomes a massive issue. And it's got to be an issue for anybody doing what you do. I have always, in 40 years, been grateful for the relationships I have with the lenders, but there's never a time that I'm not communicating with them and I tell, you see, that's another process. I make sure any buyers I work with understand what their job is. You want to buy, you want to close here, right? Yeah. Okay. I can't confirm that until I talk to my lender.
Setting the right expectations.
Correct.
Yes.
And I speak to this because I'm also a national speaker and trainer, doesn't matter, but I teach that when I'm teaching agents how to be successful. You can't blame the mortgage person. You can't blame the lender at all if you haven't communicated what the needs are for the contract you're creating in advance of creating the contract. It's not rocket science. It's just collaboration. Collaboration is one of my favorite things. And when you deal with that collaboratively, you don't have those problems. It just doesn't exist.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
So let's talk about training, if you don't mind, because one of my things, and why was I successful? I was successful for 2 reasons as a branch manager. I was successful because I always treated my business like a business. That's a thing. And when I was managing for other people, to me, every branch I ever managed was mine. Even though somebody else was paying my salary, I still treated what I did every day with a goal of giving them what they needed to have to create a successful office. That's just the way my brain has always worked. It's how I've always been in business.
Yeah.
And it takes me to a leadership thing, if I may, because and it's a thing where, and this comes back to what we were just talking about. I will share with you in all my years in management, Natalie, I always talked about relational situations with lenders and other service providers, escrow and title. I always made sure that in my sales meetings, there was an educational piece. I always had my lender, my escrow officer, my title rep in my meetings to talk about what's going on, what's new.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it made everything smoother. That's why I was able to create successful offices, because we were collaboratively a team. We worked together as a team with the same end goal. So I always knew my agents had people that they could communicate with at any time, like you, Natalie, that say, okay, what are the interest rates doing? How soon should we lock? and how quickly can you turn and what kind of things and VA and all the things. My agents were never in the dark as their leader because
Right.
I always felt that was my job as the leader to make sure my agent population knew their job. And I was always there, but working with people like yourself, that was one of the most fundamental pieces to all that I did within my offices. I literally would have, when I was running branches, I haven't done that for a bit, but when I was running branches, I would invite a Natalie to come in, talk about the process.
Yeah.
I wanted my agents to know what's involved. Okay, now we have an offer and we send it to you. Then what happens? They don't know unless somebody teaches them what's underwriting, what could come from the underwriter,
Right.
what could come
What's the
from
process of underwriting? People
exactly.
understand that they get an underwriter approval, but they don't understand what comes after it.
And they don't
You know, that
understand it.
like
They don't,
you're
and
not
so,
done with just
no,
that.
no,
And
no.
also, you know, what's a big one that people never understand and don't like? Of course, they don't like. How could you like signing off on a contingency and risking your earnest money deposit? But I've been having lately because people are nervous around everything that's happening right now. But
Yeah.
people have been not wanting to sign up on contingencies until I'm clear to close.
Yeah. Oh,
And I
that's
think that's an important conversation that
mm,
needs to be had from one of us, from the agent or from your lender, that, hey, guess what? That timeline of your contingency of 10 days to sign up on loan contingency is for the loan approval. But it is not a clear to close. So like I got asked the other day, we had a 12 day, which is lovely. And he's, do you have everything you need? Or are you final sign off? And I'm like, final sign off? What? I didn't know we had a 12-day escrow. I was like, what do you mean final sign off? No, we aren't clear to close. And he said, we have to sign up on contingencies. And I was like, you're clear to sign up on contingencies. I never said I was closing this in 12 days.
but
If
what
you
you
had set the expectation to close in 12 days, maybe I could have from the start. But at this
right.
point, I need a week to close based on where we're at, you know?
But what you just said is so brilliantly important. There's a difference between what you just said that I heard you say, and this is what I've done with every lender I've ever worked with. I will, when there's a gal that I've worked with a ton, and I work mostly with seller sides, but I worked with her a ton. And there have been moments in time when I have 3 or 4 deals happening all at the same time. And I will call her, and here's what she said. Kelly said, her name is Kelly, and she said, is this your regular weekly call to see the status? I said, yes, it is.
Mhm.
Because I wanted to know where things were. What do I need to do? What more does she need from me? And if
Sure.
and I feel the same way about you, if you tell me, if I know what clear to close means, and I understand the difference between clear to close and removing that contingency, I should be comfortable. And when I have a trust relationship with my lender, which is one of the most important relationships you must have as a real estate professional, is having someone you trust, knowing they're going to do their job. They're not going to
Yeah.
disappear. They're going to take your call, all of those things. And when you have that, and you pick up the phone and you say, Natalie, I have a contingency removal in 3 days. How are we?
Totally.
And then we've solved the problem.
Well, but no, it's more the buy. What's been happening is the buyers are like, we've been having to give conditions. They want to know that all the conditions are signed off
You're
before.
just killing me. You're killing me. You know why you're killing me?
And
Sorry.
you're like, somebody didn't set that expectation
Thank
that like
you.
the
Bam.
contingency is a timeline that doesn't wait till the like it's you're not going to have all your conditions signed off before you have to release those contingencies. I'm sorry to say.
But you
I know
see
you
what?
want to, but
Yeah.
that's not actually the contract you signed.
But your brilliance shows again, Natalie. When
Oh, no.
you are, what you just said is someone didn't set the expectation.
Expectation, right?
And therein lies, I'm loving this conversation because we're talking about all of the foundational pieces to why there are challenges.
Right.
And I'm going to share this with you. It comes down to who's doing the training. I will share with you in all my years. I was such a trainer on every fragment. I wanted to make sure that any agent that worked in my office, wherever it was, Connecticut or California, that they understood their responsibilities in terms of communication with the client. Here's what's going to happen, blah, blah, blah. Here's what's in terms of contingency release, blah, blah, blah. And please understand, even when you're approved, they're subject to potential conditions. Here's what conditions may be. Not my job, her job, but you need to expect that, agent, and you need to make sure that you're telling the buyer that.
Mm,
It's a communication issue.
totally.
It drives me crazy personally, but it's to me, it still comes down with training. It still comes down to somebody making sure. And I was that person just because I was such a stickler for, some might say perfectionism at some level, that when I knew, and that's what I told my team all the time, my largest office was 250 people with a staff of 9, but my files were clean. We didn't have problems because my agents were so well trained on what they needed to be. And this is a leadership issue. To me, this goes back to the person they're running a branch or it's their own company. Your responsibility as the leader is to lead and make sure the people working under you have clarity. And guess what happens? It's magic. It's really magic. When you do that well, then deals close. They
Yeah.
don't fall out because the communication is clear and consistent. The communication between your service providers, such as you, Natalie, and others, it doesn't fail because somebody's always making that phone call.
Exactly.
Preach it. I'm preaching, sorry.
Communication, man. It's the whole thing.
Totally
Yeah.
drives me nuts.
Yeah.
But it comes back again to leadership. The issue of the barrier to entry in my industry is way too low. It's driven me crazy for years.
Yeah.
We talked about this a little bit before we started. People think it's easy. It is not easy. Especially now because it's no longer that put a house in the MLS and you've got a deal in an hour and a half. It's not that anymore. And that means set the stage with your seller as to timelines and set the stage with the buyer as to how things should be and make sure you do your market analyses and all of those things. But that's a leadership issue. I'm a believer in training. I will share with you that I trained in my offices 3 days a week. I did motivational Mondays. I did contract training on Thursdays. And then I did buyer agency training. Yeah, myself.
That's awesome.
To me, that's what creates success.
True. That's what I tell people all the time. We were never trained how to do this. Nobody taught us how to do this. Nobody taught us how to get a loan. Nobody taught us about buying a house and what that process is. So it's really important that people have to take the DRE license, but that doesn't really train. The only way you learn, for me, is through your mistakes, right? You get in it, you jump in, you make mistakes, you learn from them. But with realtors, it's harder because you don't have as many transactions to really make those mistakes and learn from, unless you're on a team. So I always, whenever somebody's new, I'm like, get on a team. Do not do this solo at this point. Like, pop yourself on a team, watch how the experts are doing it, listen to them, sit with them all day, put those hours in. Again, you only get out what you put in.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah. So I always say, get on a team and watch somebody else do it because you're not going to be able to see all and implement the process and see the journey of it really until you can watch it in real time happen.
I've been very grateful that in some of my offices, I've had really wonderfully successful teams. And of course, the whole team model is a company in a company where the umbrella is the company I'm responsible for. And they are within that company with the benefits of that. They're running their own company. And I'm still responsible for them, but you're absolutely right. When a good team leader is a good educator, success is off the charts.
Yeah.
This guy, I won't mention his name, this guy I know, he had long before buyer agency, buyer contract, and buyer representation. He had a policy within his team that if you don't, as a buyer agent working in my team, if you don't get a buyer contract, you can't be on my team. But he taught them how to do it, Natalie. He taught them what to do.
Of course,
So
yeah.
they were so far ahead of the game when everything changed in my industry that he's just become a powerhouse. He's a really good guy, very smart guy, but he's running a company within a company under another
Yeah.
umbrella, paying the bills. The other umbrella pays the bills.
So when you say when everything changed in the business,
Mhm.
when was that?
We had a lawsuit that we lost. Oh my gosh,
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about in the
no.
business in general. Got it.
That
Oh,
is in the business in general. So we lost a lawsuit, and I have been teaching for the National Association of Realtors for a very long time. And I was intricately involved in everything happening within the education division of the National Association of Realtors as this was evolving. And nothing surprised me. I predicted what was going to happen. I predicted the industry was going to lose the lawsuit, and I understood why. And I'm going to share with you I read every document I could get my hands on as to what was actually said within that lawsuit. It came down to transparency. It came down to what am I getting? One of the things was said by one of the plaintiffs was on the stand. She said, "Why do I have to pay an agent that's been in the business an hour and a half the same compensation as I would pay someone who's been in the business 10 years?" And of course, I've heard people say to me, yes, but it's not that because the brokerage and us, it doesn't matter. What's on the settlement
right.
statement is what the seller feels they're paying, no matter how it's broken
Right.
down after the fact. And so that was an earthquake in the industry, and everything changed from then. And that's nationally, it's not just here in California.
Yeah.
And I was teaching all things agency and change for a year and a half across the country. But I'm still seeing, I was just with a consulting client up in LA, and here's me. What did you write? And you can't do that. You can't do that. No, I didn't know.
Yeah.
How could someone not know?
Honestly, I have seen some crazy stuff go down. Like I've seen agents who run a brokerage tell people like clients the wrong thing. I've seen agents who have just been in the business and run a huge business for years and years say things to clients where you're like, no, that's not right, actually. Like
Mm.
just wild how sometimes people just don't know. Like having an agent who ran a brokerage, had agents under him. He's wonderful. He's a great guy, but didn't understand closing costs and told a buyer they're
Oh my God.
1% or less. And I was like, that's not
Not
correct.
true.
I don't know. I don't know in what town that is, but it's 1% or less only if you're selling 2 million and above. But like anything under that, it's going to be 1.5 to 2 on almost everything. The lower you get in purchase price, of course, the higher. And then he said, the buyer said anyway, when they were looking through the closing cost statement, they were like, why am I paying the entire year of homeowners insurance? And I was like, because you always do. And they were like, no, my agent said I don't have to, that I can roll it in with the
Mm.
mortgage and then I pay monthly. And I'm like, you can roll it into the mortgage and pay monthly. But there is not a purchase that you will ever close where you are not paying the full year premium on the
Mhm.
insurance. And people don't know that. It's like the most wild thing. And then it became, for me, I was like, I have to do a closing cost statement class
Yes, you
immediately
do. You do. Yeah, you do.
because people don't know what's on closing
You
costs.
need to
They
do
have
that
no idea what's on a closing cost statement.
once a month at minimum somewhere.
Do you know what I mean? If this agent in the business 20 years didn't know that insurance had to be paid up front, I was like, he's doing his thing and he probably hasn't looked at a closing cost statement that often. And I don't know, but you're definitely like, how did that get lost in translation? That's crazy to
They're
me.
doing the same thing I'm doing. Like, how did you not know that?
Yeah. How did it get this far where you didn't realize insurance gets paid always in whole? And then there are other things where like you get a call. I get a call on every single file. How
Mm,
much can I get in closing costs?
mm, mm.
It's the same, right? You're like,
Yeah.
oh, how much? I always start with how much are you needing? How much are
Mm,
you asking in repairs?
mm,
And sometimes they'll be like 10. And I'm like, great, we have plenty of closing costs. But
mm.
sometimes they'll say 30 or 40. We're not going to
Oh,
have enough closing costs, right? And I'm
oh.
like, certainly not, no, because as closing costs are around 1.5 to 2% as a standard. But ask for everything you can get.
Absolutely. But
We'll deal with how we're going to use
Yeah.
the credit when we know what the
Yeah,
credit
yeah. But ask
you
the
know,
question in advance, don't assume.
but
Like,
it's so every time. I know on every phone call, every single one, it's like, how much can I get in credit? How much do they have in costs? How much in your, such a funny, you're like, come on, we've done this like 1,000 times. Like it's always around 2%.
yeah.
But that doesn't mean that shouldn't stop you from asking for more. Ask for more. We'll figure
Yeah.
out how to use a credit if we get it.
Yeah,
Like, just
absolutely. And
get as much as
restriction
we can, and then we'll figure it out.
and restrictions on credits
Yeah.
is another issue. I mean, I think it goes back again to me as a trainer. I've always told every agent that's ever worked in my office is don't assume anything. Ask the lender. Call them first. What can I do? What can I get? How much are they restricted? All of that stuff. So
Yeah.
that you're writing an offer, you're representing. That was the big problem with the lawsuit, Natalie, is that consumers didn't feel that they were being communicated well enough. They didn't have the information they should have had. And that to me falls to the agent.
Right.
Because I know how I work. And I will share with you, it's not that I'm a challenge. It's just that I have high expectation. But I'm also going to take 3.5 seconds of your time. Natalie, blah, 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 right? Yeah, blah, goodbye. And I hang up because I know what I'm asking. I know with whom I'm working, and therefore the answer is easy to get. But all real estate professionals must do a better job of communicating, especially with you. The escrow company, the title company are separate issues. But when you're at the foundation of making sure that buyer can close and buy their new home, if anything goes sideways, that's, in my opinion, very often because the agent did not communicate with the you, Natalie.
Yeah.
And then problems can be solved if done properly, easily.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. I love everything you're telling me.
Yes.
It's good.
Yeah.
You're good at what you do. And that's a big thing. It's a huge thing.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Been a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, this was lovely. Thank
Me
you for
too.
chatting with me today.
My pleasure.
Really enjoyed our conversation.
And lovely getting to know you. And agents should reach out to you and I'm going to ask you a coaching moment. I'm going to do Coach Ginny the coach and say, Natalie, how many agents, how many brokerages are you going to reach out to do presentations telling them how to do all of this stuff? Coach Ginny just showed up.
No, I know. I like it. Yeah. I do. I need to do more. I need to reach out more. I've been slacking on my reach out. It's such a lame answer. I bet you get that one all the time. Yeah, it's not been it hasn't been as strong lately. And I have
no idea how often I get that. Yeah. Yeah. But you're good. And I hear you. And I know that you're as passionate about it as I am.
Yeah.
But you also can, in my opinion, change the world just by being more present with those agents who need to hear how it's done the right way.
The right way. Yeah.
And I firmly believe any of us that have that skill should be reaching out and doing and helping.
It's true.
Sorry for annoying you with the coaching moment.
I love it. No, are you kidding? I love it. Thank you. All right, everybody. Ginny offers speaking engagements, coaching programs, and mastermind events, obviously coaching, designed to help real estate professionals grow their business, strengthen their leadership skills, and build long-term success in the industry.
Yep.
So please reach out to her. She has YouTubes and Facebooks and Instagrams and LinkedIn and her website
and all of the things.
All of the things. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us.
Lovely, lovely meeting you, my friend, and my new friend. And keep doing what you do. You're doing a great job. And
thank you.
Good. I hope I get to see you in person one day.
I know. All right, everybody. See you next time.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening to Mortgage on My Mind. If you're ready to start your mortgage journey or have any questions, I'd love to help. With 20 years of experience, I make the process as simple and stress-free as possible. Check the show notes for my contact info, and don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast. Until next time, I'm Natalie Salins, here to help make your real estate dreams a reality.